I am Pegah Jalili, Principal Scientist in MilliporeSigma. I work in MilliporeSigma for 10 years. It was former Sigma Outreach, and MilliporeSigma is a life science business of Merck KGaA. We collaborate with the customer around the world to solve many problems. And one of these projects that we are working is development of the prototype to improve and accelerate and facilitate the pharmacokinetic study and biomarker discoveries. After I graduated from my PhD, which I study in proteomic and mass spectrometry under Dr. Das. I joined the group in UT Southwestern at Medical Center at Dallas, Texas. And that group is led for Dr. Alfred Gilman. Dr. Alfred Gilman was, he received his Nobel Prize for identifying and isolating of the G proteins. In that group, I learned about the detail of the cell signaling and significance of the biomarkers, and I used that experience in my recent job, and that experience helped me in my recent job to develop the product for the biomarker discovery and pharmacokinetic studies. Typically, ligand binding assay used for analyzing the biomarker and PK study. However, this ligand binding assay method has many limitations. For example, generation of many antibody for many candidates and interferences with the matrix component, and also its long development time. It's a big limitation for this method. So, so many people routinely they use liquid chromatography mass spectrometry to analyze this molecule. In our lab, we develop full-length stable isotope label protein that can be added as an internal standard in liquid chromatography mass spectrometry to analyze and to use for the biomarker discovery and also pharmacokinetic studies. In my current role, since we know a lot of challenges about the biomarker discovery and pharmacokinetic study, in MilliporeSigma, we developed 20 biomarker, stable isotope label for biomarker for cardiovascular diseases. We developed heavy stable isotope label protein thyroglobulin can be used as an internal standard for the measuring thyroglobulin for thyroid cancer. We developed IgG1, a stable isotope label IgG1, IgG4, and mouse antibody that can be universally used for pharmacokinetic study in clinical and clinical application. We also developed two stable isotope labeled protein, adalimumab and infliximab, the heavy version that can be used as internal standard to add it in the blood sample to measure and quantify this protein. These proteins are very important because widely used for the treatment of the rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's diseases and many other immune diseases. So we can use this full-length stable isotope protein to routinely and reproducibility measure this protein in the drug. Ligand binding assay normally can be used, but because of the auto antibody in blood sample, maybe interfere with the quantification, and therefore the LC-MS assay can be used routinely for measurement of these drugs in blood sample. We use, normally we use the flank peptide and a stable isotope peptide as internal standard for quantification. But when we use a stable isotope peptide, we have to use them after the trypsin digestion. So any variation that happen after trypsin digestion can be corrected, but anything before that cannot be corrected. So we solve this problem by adding the full-length isotope labeled protein in the early stage of sample preparation. So therefore, this full-length stable isotope can correct and normalize any variation that happened during the storage, during the fractionation. For example, if you use the precipitation, we use ligand binding assay, immunoaffinity enrichment, 1 digit, 2 digit, and then we do trypsin digestion. It's corrected anything happened that during the trypsin digestion to any variation during the analytical analysis. This method, liquid chromatography mass spectrometry with full-length stable isotope label protein, can significantly improve the accuracy and precision of the measurement, and can be routinely used for the quantification of the biomarker and pharmacokinetic studies. There is a lot of problem with the pharmacokinetic study or biomarker discovery because, for example, for the biomarker, we face with a lot of candidates. We have to narrow these candidates to several candidates. If we want to use the ligand binding assay, we have to make antibody for all of these candidates, and any variation in the sample analysis can affect our results. So we use liquid chromatography mass spectrometry that we can multiplex all of these samples together to analyze the sample. But liquid chromatography mass spectrometry also has many limitations because any variation can lead to the false positive and false negative of finding or validation of the biomarkers or in pharmacokinetic study. So in our lab, to fix this problem, we adding this full-length isotopic label protein in early stage of sample preparation and normalize any variation during the sample preparation to be able to quantify the sample and get our result accurately and speed up the analysis.